Mic test, everybody. 1 2 1 2. Can you hear me? Can everybody hear me loud and clear? Have I pressed the right buttons tonight on this machine over here, the microphone machine? Just give me a heads up. Yes, would be a great thing. That's right. I've had my hair cut. Yes. Had to rush and come back straight away. Just need a yes. Sound good. Brilliant. Fantastic. Oh, well, thank you, guys. In 2 minutes, we will begin. So in those 2 minutes, just get yourself ready, get comfortable, get yourself kind of familiar with everybody else. Questions can be asked throughout the whole of this conversation, which I would very much appreciate. It also allows me to tap into certain places where familiarity, is that a word? Familiarity. The places what I remember when you jog my memory through questions. So throughout the whole of my time of making my first video on YouTube to now, I find that whenever I'm reminded in my conversation, it's like, it's hard to explain, but you know, if you're talking to somebody and all of a sudden you're reminded of something and then you say, oh my God, I just remember this is how I work. And the last time I did this talk on why we sleep and what happens when we sleep, I got bullet points and I just made a mess of it because bullet points is no good to me. It's a waste of time. I don't function in the brain. I function on experience and what comes out rather than, oh, I must remember this, I must remember that, and I just mess up. So I'm never going to do that again. Okay, I'm not going to, unless I'm doing a talk with somebody. And sometimes I think of a nice question when I'm driving in the car thinking, oh, it'd be nice to ask that question, you know. So but better I just be myself. Better I just start from the story of what happened for this to come about. So it's 7 o'clock. So we shall start. We have 1 hour deep dive. Are you ready? Got your snorkels? Are you all ready, guys? Thank you for being here tonight. If there's any scallywags on here who want to just try and be nasty and say, just ignore them. Don't bite. Don't answer them. And then they'll be just scallywags. Don't even look. Okay. Hopefully there isn't many. And hopefully the scallywags might start to change their thinking and start to ask real questions. And I like questions, and I like you to, you know, it doesn't matter if you're trying to, you know, trick me or, you know, try to, you know, fool me. You can't fool somebody who's lived a life in this work. You can't fool somebody because they'll just say, I don't know. Oh yeah, I know that. So you know straight away if somebody's BS because they answer everything, right? Everything's answered, even though you know that they're trying to answer it. And it's like, no, don't try and answer it. Don't try and make things up. Just be honest. And that's all I've ever been. I've been honest. And there's many times I say I don't know to lots of things, you know. So what I'm sharing with you tonight, guys, welcome to this 1 hour of The Trap. And I just want to put it out there for about 9 people thus far who sent me messages over the past week. And I do take notice, and I want to say I totally understand where you're coming from. And that's the reason why I made this, because sometimes I feel something that somebody's feeling really bad. And what is that? They may have read a book, or they may have been told by certain people who are speakers or talkers of the spiritual realms, but not exactly who are the analogy or how I put it before was, if my car breaks down, there's a mechanic downstairs, and he's been a mechanic for about 30 years. I've been here 20 years, and he was a mechanic when he was 16. And if my car breaks down, okay, I got 2 choices. I either go to the guy downstairs, or there's another guy across the road who reads about cars, and all he does is read about how to fix cars. Okay, Who am I going to go to? And who is the person that really understands cars? The person who reads about it, or the person who gets their hands mucky and realizes that you don't know how many times you're going to have to turn that screw before that screw is tight. A book can't tell you, oh, you need to turn it 30 times exactly, because he doesn't know, the torque or how deep the screw needs to go. So when people read books of other people who have no clue whatsoever about the work we do, and that is not egoistic, guys. I am not being egoistic when I say this. I am speaking the truth. You know something? If somebody started telling your child to do something, and what you do is that every day, if you are somebody who works every day in what somebody else is telling them to do, and you realize, hang on a minute, you don't even do the work. How are you telling them what to do, but you've never done it before in your life? You've just, what you mean, you've read a book and now you're telling telling my child what to do? I actually work and do this job every day. Please don't tell my child what to do, because you don't really know. And this is exactly why I make this. And it may seem, and I agree, I might come across sometimes as egoistic, but for me, if I didn't give a damn, if I didn't give a toss about this, I wouldn't even talk about it, would I? Why would I even talk about it? Why would I even put myself out there to question certain people and say, and to even put myself out there and say, yeah, I'd like to have a conversation with that person. I'm in the public domain. Many people will go back to certain people and say, do you know what he's saying about you? Well, they couldn't care less, to be honest. That's the truth. And that's why they never answer. And that's why they won't. But me, I'm enthusiastic. Okay? Totally. And the reason why I'm enthusiastic is because of this. There has been many occasions that as a healer, I've had a phone call and been asked to go to somebody's house. And when I've got there, it might be a lovely lady, Aline or Jessica or whoever, and she's lying in bed. And I know that she's ready to move into the light. So I am asked to go there to help with the transition. This used to happen to me all the time. That was my job, part of my job. Three main characters of my job was helping people get strong or move into the light, going into the house and cleansing that house of negative energy, forces beyond our understanding, spirit trapped in between two worlds. And the third thing I used to do was do healing sessions with psychic attunement. So I used to try and feel people and understand their path and how to try and guide them and try to give them information that they didn't realize. That was really most important to me. Like the penny drop moment. Oh my God, I didn't think about that. Boom, they've got it. They've gone, they've changed their life because they've just now realized something that they couldn't, because it's too close. I don't know my life. That's why I said I gave I had a coffee chat with JCK, and I said to her, why is it that healers, psychics, seers, people who do this work struggle to actually find balance in themselves and find relationships? Because it's too close and they're too busy doing the work. But for me, look at me. I spent years trying to find that balance because I could see within a lot of healers, they were getting sick. I could see a lot of ego in a lot of readers. I could see a lot of bad stuff in people who were claiming to be spiritual. So I kept away from that movement. You've only just seen now, I only have a handful of people who I work with in these 20 years. I've only worked with a handful of people, some shamans that I worked with a few times, a few healers here and there, Ajahn, Bettina, who's a chef, and I kept myself to myself. I didn't do radio interviews so many. Well, might have done for Talk Radio Europe and for Heart Radio, but not so much where I'm like, I can say, oh, I know everybody. I know everybody. I know all the psychics. I don't know them because I was too busy doing my own stuff. Doing my own stuff meant I was working with my clients, helping them through the procedure of cancer, disease, breakdowns, suicidal thoughts, and people who actually tried to take their life, and so on and so on and so on. I had some deep stuff that I was working on. So this is my credentials. At 38 years old, I was whirlwinded into this spiritual path of helping thousands of people, and people were coming to me, and I was fully booked for months. And when I gave up one-to-ones, it was the hardest thing. And even today, I get messages. Please, can I have a reading? Please, can you read for me again? Please, can I have a healing session? I don't do it anymore. So that shows that people still remember me. And even 2 days ago, somebody was sat next to me at Decentral and looked at me and she said, thank you. And I'm sorry about, thank you for the reading. Everything that you said, she said, everything that you said, this was a true words, the words out of the mouth. Everything that you said came true. And she said, I'm sorry. I said, what for? For saying what I said. Because I said not some nice things. And this happened a lot, right? But then afterwards, they're all saying, right, I'm thankful for what you said. Now, there's certain times that you might feel something and you try and share it in a loving way, not an egoistic way, but a loving and kind way. And even one very, very famous lady said to me, you're very good at giving bad news. And it can hurt a little bit. It can hurt a little bit. But then as time goes on, people realize that, oh yeah, now I see, and it doesn't hurt as much. So anyway, I'm diverse and I'm digressing, but going back to my healing work, I'm going to start giving you some stories now. I'm going to tell you some stories. And these stories are stories of people who moved into the light, those that were in a coma, lots of different stories to try and help you make your own mind up whether you believe that the light is a trap. Okay. So the first thing that springs to mind, one of my first customers who was in hospital at Quintos Hospital. I've got it. I've said it wrong. I always say it wrong. Quintos in Marbella on the main road. So I get a phone call from a son to go, and this happened often. So it would be a daughter or a son or a husband. Please go into the hospital. Could you please help? And a lot of the times, and this was very, very normal, the husband or the wife lost either or partner, so they were on their own, and the children lived in. I had a lot of clients from Denmark. Okay, so Denmark, they couldn't get there quick enough. Okay, so please, Mark, please go to the hospital now. She's panicking. She's had a huge fall or something. The issue that they had inside them has had a heart attack or like they're in a coma or they're in a bad place. Okay, I'll go now. So I quickly make a phone call to my clients that day. Okay, I'm sorry, I've got to cancel. There's an emergency. This happened often. So I go to the hospital, go to the front desk. Who are you? I'm the son. Okay, you can go upstairs. That was my main get-in. Oh yeah, are you family? Yeah, I'm the son. Right, so they let me in. I used to lie. Yeah, I did lie because they wouldn't let me in otherwise. Okay, so I'd get in there and I'd go up in the lift. Okay, so I'd be either up in the lift or down in the lift. If it was like they were in what's it called, A&E, and they were on monitors, they'd be downstairs. So I'd either be upstairs or downstairs. So I'd go in and then I'd be with the client. And I'm going to give you a blanket, an overall understanding of how this works. So I gets in and the client is either their eyes closed, they're monitored up, and I try and find a place where to park myself with all the machines. Normally the machines are left and sometimes they're on the right, but I try and get in between the machines. Sometimes if there's enough room at the back, I can slip at the back and I can work this way. So I'm like on the bed and I'm working on the head. So I have to figure out, first of all, is if they're in a coma, if they're in like a state of in and out of consciousness, depending on how they are. If they've got cancer and they're at the end stage, that they've been riddled up with morphine and all the crap that they're shoving them. Okay. So depending on the circumstance, I would lay my crystals around or where nobody can see. So the doctor or the nurse comes in, they're not seeing crystals, and what the hell am I doing? So I purposely put them, and normally my crystals would be clear quartz, and I'd stick them in the corners, okay? Because that is I'd already charged for crystals already. They're all ready to go. Can't be using incense in a hospital. Just ain't going to happen. But you can put crystals there. You can bring your oils. You can bring your water, which is, purified water. I call it sacred mist now. And I can start the work. So I sit down or I get myself comfortable wherever I am, because sometimes I'll hold their hand, or sometimes I'll put my hand on their chest or on their third eye. So first of all, what you have to do is you have to understand where this soul is at the moment. So you have to understand, is the soul ready to move? Is the soul still going to be there for a week or 2 weeks? And you got to feel how strong the soul is and how strong the spacesuit is. So you can start by just sitting there and just closing your eyes. Some of my mentors used to sit and close their eyes and not even go up to the client and still help them. Very fascinating, by the way, that. But I didn't have that gift. I had to go very close with my hands or hold them because I feel energy. Okay, so I'll give you a for instance. I'm with this one lady and I'm in there, and this lady has had a long-term issue. And the issue is inside the body, and this person cannot say breathe. Okay, I want to be careful here because I don't want to start saying things that people will say, oh, I know what you're talking about. Okay, so I go up to the side, the left-hand side, and I place my hand on the heart. And now I'm feeling the heart, sending energy and healing there. As I'm giving that healing session, the spirit starts to communicate, not the spacesuit, not the fear in the mind. I can hear it and I can feel that, but I'm going to the spirit, the soul that never dies. That's your soul. So as my hand's there, I'm giving energy. And that energy is a bit like, you imagine you're attacking something beautiful by way of fear and worry that comes from the mind and the body. It can attack the soul by almost like creating a darkness that is heavier and heavier, like quicksand. You blast the heart and strengthen the heart, and the quicksand disappears. So I first of all feel the heart. As I'm feeling the heart, then I'll go to the head. You clear the head of the fear, and now you've got peace. When you clear the head of fear, you then start to activate what's called, what people call it, the pineal gland. And it always happens this way. Third eye, straight on the third eye here, and you just blast there and do your work. You call for the energy and you blast. At that particular moment, what normally happens is there is a connection when you strengthen the pineal gland, and it opens up to a divine moment. And that divine moment, the consciousness connects to the brain, to this pineal gland. And then there is a moment, just a moment, that it's almost like a download of spirituality and a download of knowing. It just lasts for a few seconds. And normally what you would hear, what I would hear, is a kind of like gasp. And the gasp is followed by shock, but not shock in fear, shock in like, and I'm going to swear now. No, I'm not. But it's like, I never knew. I never knew. And I could have wrote that down, that line down, more times than I could imagine. And I was curious. I was curious, what do you mean? I come to learn and understand from my clients who wanted to share the same situation was this. Their life on this earth planet, on this experience in this bodysuit, has now seen every photo, every image that was important to their spiritual journey that they created before they came here, that they agreed to go through. Every single snapshot appears before them. This is a very important part of the moving into the light. This is when I know within that moment and the next few days, they're ready to go. Because that moment happens where it is the point at you judge what you've experienced. You judge what you knew was to be right and to be not so right or wrong. So you become your judge. So I always say this, after knowing this, there isn't a God judging you at that moment. Your consciousness is judging your actions and what you've done and what you've experienced. So they come up like thousands of them in a matter of moments. It's incredible. It's incredible to feel and watch. You cannot explain the power of what just happens. Now, I have had clients who have felt pure peace thereafter, and some clients who were doctrined by religion, whether it was Islam, whether it was Judaism, whether it was Catholicism, it doesn't matter. I noticed a difference in those that were programmed to believe that certain things that they did would mean that they would be penalized or they would burn in hell for certain things they may have done. And I'm going to share one thing with you so you understand what I'm trying to say, because you're not going to get it otherwise. One of my clients was a very old lady, and one of the things that haunted her was the fact that I knew that there was a baby next to her every time she came. Every time she came to me, I knew her for 15 years. Every time she came to me, there was a baby by her side. And I'd say, your baby's here. And she'd cry. She'd cry all the time. And I'd say, she loves you. And she's showing herself as a baby, so you know what I'm talking about. But then a few times later, and it started, I wondered why she was crying all the time. I thought, okay, she may have had a miscarriage, or it could have been that she may have had, she got pregnant out of wedlock, and that could have been disastrous because of where she came from. So the next time she came, the baby didn't look the same. The baby looked grey, and the baby looked like it had bandages around it and all over its face. So I then thought, oh, the baby's had an accident. And I said, the baby's got bandages all around. And she burst into tears even more. She actually once left without saying a thing. And then the day came and she came back for another healing session, knowing what I knew. She came and I want to talk to you, Mark. And I'm not going to share what happened, but let's say that it wasn't the most pleasant of things what she did. And she lived with that. So moving on. This lady that I talk about was in fear. But most people who haven't done anything, let's say, really bad and hasn't been programmed by religion, they are, let's say, at that moment, they forgive themselves. I didn't do anything. They just saw what they did and said, okay, I did my best. I can see the good things. Mainly you see the bad things. That's the whole point. You normally, like we do, because the brain kicks in as well. So you've got the duality of the brain kicking in, the consciousness, and the pineal gland. So I can normally tell when they're ready to move into the light, and I can also see if they're going to move into the light easily, or if it's going to take a little bit more effort and time. So after that session, what would happen is I would leave and the family would ring me up and say, how is everything? And I would say, I might need to go back again, or everything's fine. Okay. Everything fine means that they've accepted that what they've seen is like, wow. And what they understand now is like, I didn't realize, meaning I didn't know there was so much more that I could have learned in this life, or there's so much more that I didn't do that I should have done, or I can't believe I held myself back with all the things that I should have done on these photographs. Okay. So it's a self-realization, and only you can judge yourself, because only you know yourself. There's nobody who knows you more than you. Oh yes, God knows you more. Well, I never heard anybody say I saw God. What I hear people say, and if they did, I would say to you now, oh yeah, God was there, because God, they said they saw God. Nobody has ever said to me they saw God. What they did say to me though, is that they felt their family in spirit. So then a lot of people call out. So they'll hold their hand out, or they'll talk. They'll speak. Nobody's in the room, but they're talking, right? But if you are a healer and you understand energy, and if you are a psychic or a medium and you feel spirit when it comes to you, when you're doing a reading, you can feel, oh God, Jesus Christ, somebody's here. I can feel somebody, or somebody's there. And I just got this image in my mind of spirit. Yeah, because spirit comes in different ways depending on how you are as a healer or a psychic or a medium, whatever it is. We all have our unique connection. My connection was, oh my God, I just saw spirit. Times I actually literally saw spirit, but most of the times I see it in my third eye or my mind's eye. It's hard to explain, but it's a brief moment as I see it. And then I'll say to a client, there's a girl here with ginger hair. She stood there. She's 13 years old. How did I see that? Not literally, but I felt this girl come to me in this vision in a way that I saw, and it's gone. And then they'll start crying. And then the husband will say, oh my God, how did he know that? Right. And I'll even say the dress. I'll even say what they've got in their hand. I'll say anything that I saw. So then they go, okay, I know. Yeah, that's my daughter, or whatever. It might be a horse. There's a bloody horse. I just seen a horse, or I see a dog, or I see a cat, and they'll confirm that. Okay, they'll confirm it. So now, okay, there's something in this. So now you understand. When I'm at that bed, I can feel things, and I'm sat there, and I've maybe just given a healing session, and I'm sat there just allowing the energy and just to see and to feel, not to want to know anything, not wanting to anything back in return, not wanting to know what happens after death. I'm just sat there with love, and my heart is filled with love. Like I just turned this card over. This card is the only card. I said, should I be doing this? Should I be telling people this? Is it important to tell people? I turned this card over just now. You see it? That's the only card that your family and spirit are close, helping you. Okay. It means that you're speaking via spirit. So then I did, and I started saying more than what I was going to say. So I'm telling you this out of love. I'm telling you out of experience, not out of ego. I don't want anything for this. I just want to help people understand that moving into the light is actually a beautiful thing. And it's nearly 90%, 95%. that you don't even need to worry about anything. It's fine. Your family are there, and they come into the room, and you vibrate into the frequency of the spirit world. It's beautiful experience. There isn't thousands of people trapped or coming back into this world. And why, Mark? Because we choose to come into this world. Do you think if we choose to come into this world knowing that we're going to be trapped forever and a day, we'd come? What? Doesn't it make more sense that free will says, I am going to come here to learn my lessons, and we get here and come on, think about it. How many lessons do we actually learn? Not many, do we? How many times do we make a mistake and wish we shouldn't have done that, or we made regrets? Doesn't it make more sense to say when we go back home, we think, we see all these things. Oh my God, I should have done this. Oh, I wish I'd have done that. I wish I'd have experienced that. I didn't experience that. Yeah, I'm coming back again, because that's what it's all about. Everything is about the consciousness of this ocean raising in frequency. And how to do that is you create a certain place in the world where this gorgeous drop of the ocean goes into a spacesuit as a baby and experiences this life and then goes back into the ocean. Do you think that with the divine consciousness that is called our spirit world or God, do you think that God would allow this to happen? Or do you think God would say, look, the choice is yours. You either come back again and learn it all again, or you don't. It's up to you as a singular drop of water. So going back to this beautiful moment, there are normally, what I used to see is either talking, so they would talk to themselves. Okay, anybody else would go, what the hell are they saying? What they're going crazy. No, they're not going crazy. The spirit in family worlds come. There's no filter anymore. There's no brain taking over saying anything. You're just seeing your family. And the closer you get to going home, the closer you will feel to the spirit world. It makes sense. It makes sense. Your body is now separating from your consciousness. It's now the time that you're going home. So you're separating from this connection that you had, and you are now disconnecting in so many ways. As you're disconnecting, you're feeling the closeness of your spiritual family who are coming to you. Now, you can argue till you're blue in the face with me, and I don't care whether it's Archangel Michael, whether it's God, whether it's your spirit guides, whether it's your family in spirit. None of that matters. Arguing over this and that means nothing. It's like, okay, well, you're just ruining everything because you're just arguing over the silliest thing. The most important thing is that our spirit family always come to us at the time of our transition. One of the things that I can honestly say, that people who, let's say, passed in a house, and I cleansed that house with sage, right, and put crystals everywhere, it was an easier transition because the room wasn't negative, filled with family crying, people saying, oh, I don't want you to go. All the pain and suffering that people go through at that moment when we should be rejoicing because we're going home. But I know we're selfish. We don't want to lose them. I get that. I understand it. So I had to work with them. And at the same time, I'd be doing healing sessions on the family outside while their mum or their brother is inside a bedroom getting ready to move into the light. And I'd be healing them because they need the healing so that when they come into the room, they can give good energy instead of bad energy, and explain to them that this is the most beautiful single moment of your life. And the fact that you're here for this transition is super special, super amazing. And a lot of the times, the spirit world are very clever. They sometimes don't want family to be in that room because they know that the transition is going to be more challenging. And that's why they keep certain people away, because they're not in that energy for it. And I know that's going to sound awful and you're going to be mad with me, but it's true. It's true. Sometimes that is true. Also, sometimes the spirit world are so amazing, they do the opposite. So my daughter, for some reason, had to go to the UK with her mum. And while they were there, they were visiting her granddad, which wasn't a biological granddad, but he loved her more than any of his children. He loved this little girl. When she got there, she went up the stairs because the doctor was there and he had this thing on his face. And when he saw my daughter, he just burst into tears. My daughter jumped on him and then he died a few hours later. Divine timing. So you can't say one or the other, Mark. And I'm not saying one or the other. I'm not saying any of this is in stone. In fact, it isn't. Nothing's in stone. Everything's up for the spiritual realms is so unique and so individual and so beautiful that I cannot say to you that anything works exactly like this. And for somebody to say that the light is a trap is ridiculous, because nothing is set in any way, because we're all unique, we're all different, and everything is different and everything changes. Light changes, frequency changes, the room changes. People in the room are making things easier, making things difficult. There are certain things that happen because of the frequency of this universe. It could be the sun's energy. Lots of things can either strengthen or interfere with anything. But ultimately, when we step out of the body, and our family is there, and they are always there, no matter what you've done, they are there to help you. It is at that point, if there's a man or a woman there to say everything's fine, and you accept everything's fine, and this passing is not filled with fear, it's filled with love. You can see your family now, you're just about to go. There is this beautiful flame of energy, this energy that can light up the room. And I don't know whether this light, in the sense of heat, I feel it as heat. And funnily enough, so did Brian, who's up on my wall. That's Brian. I was there with Brian at the passing. Just the day before, something like that, very, very close to when he was passing. And many people like that, as I was giving healing, the room changed frequency. It set on fire. I was on fire. I was dripping. And Brian said, "My God, it's burning." I said, "Yeah, like something's happening." That burning isn't pain, it isn't suffering. It's cleansing of negative energy and creating a new energy in the room for the passing, for the healing, for the cleansing, for the purging of whatever. Beautiful soul, by the way, Brian. Love him. And I shall move on to Brian, actually. So Brian passed. And 7 days later, about 7 days later, right, Brian came into this room. And I'm like, "Oh, he's here." And he kept saying, "I can now look after my daughter. I can now look after my daughter. I'm now with my daughter. I'm now able to love and help her. And I'm now with my wife." And it was like, it was so beautiful. So let's ask this question then. He was a loving man, was Brian. The kindest man I have ever met in my entire life. In fact, I often used to say, I wish Brian was the father that I never had. And I used to tell Barbara this. I used to say, "Barbara, you know, what a beautiful man." And she used to say, "He's my gentle giant." And he was a big guy, but gentle. Brian was somebody who believed in the spiritual work. He came for many healings. Barbara insisted I would be there all the way through it. I was fighting with the one guy who was doing some crazy things, which was medicine. And it was saying some awful things. I was trying to calm all of that down. It was negative. And I was helping Barbara at the time. I remember it was awful what he was saying. And I'll tell you what he said. he told Barbara and his Barbara and Barbara's daughter to stop grieving and to let him go, because he won't go unless you let him go. So when we came outside, I never said anything. We came outside. I said, that was bang out of order. I'm just telling you now, that was bang out of order. Bang out of order. You don't tell somebody that it's okay for them to go. You spend as much time as you want and you love them as long as you want. Leave people alone to let them grieve in the way that they want to go. Don't tell people what they have to do and you just don't do that. Yeah, that might sound ego to you, but that pissed me off. And he never spoke to me thereafter. And Barbara was crying, and they were both crying. And I said, you hold on to him for as long as you want, because it ain't going to make no difference really to the passing. And Brian will move into the light, and it won't be any challenge. It's fine. So Brian passed, and 7 days later he came back. Okay. So question. Do you think that Brian went into the darkness? Because if what people are trying to say, and please tell me if I'm wrong, don't go into the light, well, where do you go? Do you go into the darkness? Do you turn away from the light? Do you think he'd have turned away from the light? Somebody who believed in the light turned away from the light? I don't think so. Now, this idea of this false light has been with me and haunted me at 38 and a half. Because at 38 years old, I started learning about these things, and somebody at the circle night said that the light was false. And I didn't know. I had no idea. I ain't got a clue. And I'm going, really? So light is darkness? And she said, yeah, it's a trap. So David Icke and so many others, they're not the ones who said this. Many people have said it. Many people have said it to me well before he wrote any books. So at that time, I was curious and I was open because I didn't know anything about spirituality. So I'm going, wow, the light's darkness. So I used to walk on here and I used to scratch my head. I used to think the light is darkness. When we die, we step into the light and it brings us straight back here. It's a trap. And every time I used to say it, I'm sorry, I just couldn't get it. I just couldn't get it. I like, if somebody says to me, you know, when you're about to pass, your family and spirit come and they're there to take your hand and lead you back home. Okay, I can feel that. I feel it here. I feel it. You're right. It feels right. When you die and a light comes to you, whatever you do, don't walk into that light because it's a trap. I'm questioning that. I'm like, is that right? Is it right? Why didn't I say the same thing about your family coming to you? Why didn't I say, really? Your family comes to you? Your family comes to you and helps you into the light? Why didn't I say that? Because my consciousness knows. Because I have been here many times before. I have not come here because I'm trapped. And you may say, oh, well, I think you have. And that's why most people are upset and sad in this world. And that's why, because they keep coming back. Well, they wouldn't know, would they? Hang on a minute. I've had this conversation with somebody who they wouldn't even know because it's a trap. How would they know? I had this conversation with a guy. Oh, because the consciousness knows. Well, if the conscious knows, why wouldn't it know not to go into the light? So you're telling me it does know, it doesn't know, but now you're saying it does know. I'm confused. Explain what you're saying, because everything that you're saying is a contradiction in term. It makes no sense. And when something makes no sense, it normally has no validity. When something feels right, it's what you go with. It's your gut instinct, just like buying fruit and vegetables. You feel it. It's like knowing somebody. You meet somebody, you feel them. Your consciousness knows. Your conscious knows somebody that you've never met before. You'll feel them. How do you know that? I didn't know them, but I just feel I think I know you. Are you my soulmate? Might not be your soulmate, but it might be somebody you met in a past life. So your consciousness knows. It knows these things. The only fear that comes into you is being programmed into you by books and by things that you don't, that people have regurgitated in fear. Fear, 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 all the time. So here's another question for you all. Why the trap? Just a simple question. Why the trap? Why? If the divine is the divine, why the trap? The divine makes a trap to see you going into the trap, to keep coming back so he can laugh, or he can state, you ain't coming back to this spirit world till you truly awaken and understand. Or could it be that the trap is not a trap? Could it be that there's something else going on here? So we now move on to the next part. And this part is about spirit trapped in between two worlds. So please don't get it confused like a lot of people who have written books have. Okay? Spirit trapped in between two worlds is a genuine phenomena. Spirit trapped in between two worlds. It's got nothing to do with the trap and the light. So this is, again, the next part of my understanding of the spiritual work. This is my spiritual work. Okay, this is how it works. Remember, I told you that there is a point where you see your life come up in front of you, everything at a point, it all just flashes up in front of you. There are times that you do something that you may have felt so bad that you've done that it sits within your whole body. It sits there and it sits in your core. Your consciousness cannot, it's hard to explain. This is where it becomes really complicated because your consciousness is still connected to the spacesuit. It's still connected and it still feels. And when we go back home, we come to learn again. But if something's happened which is so devastating, so painful, so I wish I'd never done that. That was so bad. I can't forgive myself. I am so worried. And that is connected to religion. Okay, so religion says you're going to burn in hell if you've done something wrong, if you've killed somebody or anything you've done bad. Okay, you now have that as part of your consciousness. Of course it is, because every day your consciousness is growing by what you're feeling, good or bad. So your experience is what you've done. So it's still part of your consciousness because you have to understand it, to accept it, to let go. But what if you don't let it go? What if you now have been so indoctrinated with this energy that your consciousness still feels this feeling with the spacesuit? And that is at that split moment. Okay. And sometimes it happens when you have a car accident or when you hang yourself or when you, and the only way I can describe it is the easiest way. And I've said this before many times. The door is the light. The door is the front door to your house. And your mum and dad, your grandma, all your cousins, everybody, your family, everybody is there ready to greet you. But you've been a naughty boy or girl at school and you've done something that is unforgivable. Unforgivable. It's like almost like I cannot be forgiven for what I've just done at school. But you have to walk through that door, right? And you know that people are going to be disappointed, right? And especially if somebody says when you walk through that door, you're going to burn in hell for the rest of your life. Are you going to walk through that door? Well, it's called free will. And that's what the universe gives you. That's what the drop in the ocean allows you, free will. And some people decide not to hold the hand of the family member and walk through the door. They decide to leave and not go there because it's too big a burden. And that's why I think there's something also beautiful about people being at the bedside and saying everything's okay. And, just let it go. It's all fine. It's this reassurance that you let go of the pain, what you may have done to other people, right? Or yourself. So, and that's why I think the final rites where a priest would go into a prison or a home and an act of contrition, whatever it may be, and say your sins are absolved. So then, okay, I'm okay now. There's some good in that. Don't think everything's bad. It's just been hijacked. There's some good priests out there. There's some good, kind people. Forget the rope and the cloth. It's the person in that cloth. Are they good? Are they kind? Do they really care? Do they really want to help that person move into the light? So that moment where you don't go into the light, or you don't vibrate into that frequency, or you don't hold the hand because you're frightened of walking through that door, what happens then is your consciousness doesn't vibrate to the frequency of the spirit world. It's a difficult one to grasp, but vibrating into the spirit world means your drop enters into the ocean. You become the frequency of the spirit world. So you vibrate into that frequency. Now, if you've got guilt or all them bad things, your consciousness can hold on to that. I don't know why. I don't know how, because I would have thought it would have just gone, oof, but sometimes not. Why? Why? How can you say that, Mark? I'll tell you why. Because I've been into hundreds and hundreds of houses where there's been an entity, a spirit, no matter what you want to call it, something in that house that isn't the same frequency as spirit in the spirit world. It comes at a different vibration, a different frequency. It's heavier. It's denser. It comes with fear. It comes with, there's so many things it comes with, right? I'm just looking back and the times I've been into, say, like a big building, or into one of the most powerful ones for me was the vertigo and the pulling of energy from this spirit trapped in between two worlds. You can call it ghost, whatever you want. And as I'm doing a cleansing at this place, because they couldn't understand why everything was going wrong in this place, they all left, and I'm on a carpeted corridor, and I'm blowing the sage right like crazy, and I could feel something super bad. And I'll just cut a long story short. It was a man of the cloth who was wearing black and I believe red. And I think he was either a bishop or a cardinal of the past. And he was an abuser of children and a killer of humans. So, of course, he didn't vibrate into the light. So he's trapped, right? And the only thing I can do is cleanse this place. But I didn't know this till later on, because I spent 3 hours in there. So I'm walking on this corridor from one end of the restaurant to the other end of the restaurant, where it goes outside into a patio, beautiful place. This was in Belgium. And as I'm walking, it felt like I was walking down a hill, but it was flat. And I felt like I was going to fall. And all of a sudden, I felt like somebody was pulling me. And I'm like, whoa. And that's the power of spirit trapped in between two worlds when they're angry or they're trying to cause issue. They can smash plates, they can throw things around, they can switch taps on, they can do things with that energy which is trapped in between two worlds. But it comes at a heavier energy, it comes at a more fear energy, it comes at a frightening energy. I was bloody scared. It was like I was quite scared. Yeah, I was, because of all these new feelings I've never felt before. After that, I was okay because I got used to that. It was something that I got used to then, and it didn't affect me. And I always used to say, nobody has the power over me. And I used to call for my mum and for spirit world to help me all the time. I had my tools, my power of my mum, and my mum helped me in that particular situation very profoundly. So it's true that there is spirit trapped in between two worlds. But now you can see the difference by me trying to explain to you how a book can say, don't go into the light because you're trapped. So if you don't go into the light, guess what? You might end up being trapped in between two worlds. Now, there's been these questions thrown to me often, and I don't have the answers to it all. But there was a question put to me which was very powerful, and it was, if I get trapped in between two worlds, what's my chances of going home? And that has always fascinated me. And the reason why it's fascinated me is because when I sit with spirit trapped in between two worlds, either they're in denial, that's why I call them spirit in denial, and they don't know what's going on. They don't want to know what's going on. And they believe that where they are is part of their existence and that's their reality and there's nothing wrong. And it's almost like a Groundhog Day. They keep going back to the same questions, keep saying the same answers until I get through to them and speak to them and say, you're not actually where you think you are. This isn't actually reality. And actually, if you want to go home and see your family, and I have to not coerce them, but try and make them say, look, you've been here for a while, right? And they don't know they've been here for a while because there's no space and time in this in between. So it could be 1,000 years, it could be 10 years, but there's no space and time. And the spirit never dies. It doesn't go old. So it's still the same, right? So I'm trying to help spirit understand that, hey, your family is here where this light is and everything's fine. And your sister's waiting for you or your friend's waiting for you. And sometimes I can't get through. Sometimes it didn't work. Most of the time it did. And when it didn't work, it was because somebody did something really bad, either killed themselves or because they'd done something really bad. When some people kill themselves because they don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. Hey, that's interesting. I killed myself because I didn't see a light at the end of the tunnel. Wow. Really? That's great. Maybe that's what that means. I never saw the light at the end of the tunnel. Bloody hell. There's something in that, isn't there? I'm going to kill myself and you end up not being in the spirit world because I couldn't see a light at the end of the tunnel. I guess if they saw the light at the end of the tunnel, everything would be fine. Hey, that's just a side note, hey? Just come to me. Maybe somebody said that for the right reasons. Or who knows? It might be the train's lights that are coming to knock you over, as many people say. Am I upsetting people here? I haven't looked at the comment section so far. Am I pissing people off? And am I shaking people up? Is there a lot of people who are angry with me now? If you are, I'm sorry, guys. I'm just trying and doing my best to what I know to help people. And sometimes it's really challenging because somebody starts to say something that they've never experienced and wrote a book that they know nothing about. It's like, why are we listening to the wrong people all the time? Why are we listening to politicians? Why are we listening to Bill Gates? Why are we listening to all the wrong people and all the good people nobody cares or listens to? Drives me insane because I don't have that answer. Why is darkness so easy to sell and light so difficult? Why is hate so easy to sell and fear and love and happiness so difficult? Anyway, going back to what I was saying. What was I saying? So spirit trapped in between two worlds. An accident on a motorway and somebody dies. For some reason, spirit can be trapped. in between that shock energy. And there are people out there who can help. And I don't know how many, and I don't know how, but I do know if the frequency can change in that place, it helps. Now, here's one thing that I want to say. Mother Earth has the answer to everything and heals and cleanses everything. And I believe ultimately Mother Earth actually does help spirit trapped in between two worlds leave at certain points. And I think Mother Earth's nature, her frequency, and her herbs helps. So, you know, this is going to sound stupid to you, but there was a point that many years ago, I used to go up here and I used to help certain spirit trapped in between two worlds. Down there in Alarin, right, there was places that I couldn't help certain people that were trapped because of certain reasons. And this was because two of them had killed many people in the times of the Moors when they were fighting the Christians. So this is what I felt. And this is a side note, and you might think this is crazy, but this is what happened. Somebody set fire to the mountain that I felt these two spirits in denial, and they killed each other. And the fire ended, and I went back there with my daughter, and it was black. Everything was burnt. The smoke, and all around there was sage. And I sat there, and I thought, they're not here anymore. They've gone after the fires. Could it be the sage smoke? And if I was to look at all things equal, I would have said, yes, it was. So there are times that can happen. So then I went into houses and started cleansing houses with sage. Now, I did it wrong at the beginning because I was listening to everybody. Everybody would say, oh, you just need a little bit of sage, just a little bit of sage and you'll be fine. Okay. But then my clients were saying it's still here. This has happened. That's happened. Oh, really? And I'd go back, and then all of a sudden, out of my own intuition, like we all have that penny drop moment, why is it not working? It's obvious. There's not enough smoke. That's what I'm doing. It's not the stick, it's the smoke. So I broke this up, and I actually asked the lady if she got a wooden bowl. Do you mind if I use it? I'm going to burn it. Yeah, no problem. So I burn and I set it on fire, and I started in one corner. And then I said to the lady, can you leave this house? She said, of course I can. And I got my confidence up, and I'm chasing this spirit around the house. I can feel this negative energy like I've done for hundreds of houses. And when I finished cleansing the whole house, there was smoke everywhere. All the doors and windows were shut. It's gone. Can't feel it anymore. And she'd said, and then she came back. I opened all doors and windows. She says, do you think it's gone? I said, I'm not sure, but I think so. Next day, nothing. Next day, nothing. Next week, nothing. Next month, nothing. And then she'd come for a session, a healing session. We hadn't had any trouble, Mark, at all. That's how that started. So everything that I share with you was through organic work and not through people telling me what to do. Right? So, question is this, and this is a really good question. If the spirit trapped in between two worlds and you can't help them back because they're in a bad place and they don't want to know and they're in denial, right? I used to use sage thereafter because they might have been causing issue in the house. And I'd say to the client, first of all, do you want me to clear the spirit out of this house? Some would say, no, I like the spirit. It's lovely. I'd say, oh, great. So I won't use sage then. Why? Because a lot of the times, well, all the time, but a lot of the times I used to say, not to cause any issue, but a lot of the times the spirit would leave. Where does the spirit go after you've saged them? I don't know. I would hope they'd gone home, but it was like, did I ever really connect to that spirit thereafter? In truth, I don't think I did. I could have done, but I'm not being 100% sure, right? I would like to think they went home. I think with the power of sage being a natural Mother Earth healer, I think sage will clear the darkness within the spirit trapped in between two worlds, that negative frequency that still is within spirit trapped in between two worlds, which is different from spirit in the spirit world, which is pure love and healing, because you feel it and you know the difference. There is no fear with spirit trapped in between two worlds. And a lot of people make the mistake that when they're in the house, they think that's spirit, and it isn't. It's spirit trapped in between two worlds. It's a different frequency. So ultimately, we're nearly finished now. Ultimately, the question is this: if spirit is trapped in between two worlds, how did they get there? Most of the time we see spirit is trapped in between two worlds because of death, because of shock, because of killing themselves. That's normally what happens. Ultimately, looking at all of this, you can still argue with me and still say to me, you still haven't answered all the questions. You still don't know really. And all I can say is, every day that I came into Tickle Pink and I sat down and my next client comes and sits next to me and the spirit next to me, they would present themselves in a way that I could say, there's so-and-so here, and they're talking to me. They're talking to me through the cards. They're talking to me. Like sometimes somebody would say, well, you haven't used the cards. And that was amazing. I said, yeah, because I could feel them. And sometimes I might need the cards. So I'm talking to my client saying, this is so-and-so, and they're wanting me to tell you this. And, oh, by the way, just be a little bit cautious of next week. And, oh, by the way, your house has got a crack in it. No, it hasn't. Yeah, it's got a crack in it right down the middle. And they're telling me you've got a crack down the middle. So just check the foundations. I'm trying to put the pieces, just check the foundations. Okay. They go away on holiday. They come back. There's a little earthquake and they've got a crack up the wall. Spirit knows the future. It knows what's happening. Okay. So if spirit knows all of these things, do you think that they would not say to their loved ones, by the way, the moment you pass into the light, the moment that you're ready to move into the light, don't go into the light. Go into the darkness. Go, turn away from it and go the opposite way. That's all I'm saying. That's my truth. I'm not arguing, but that's my truth. Okay? I have never heard that said. And if I did, and if spirit said that to me, I would be here defending the same thing that these people are saying. I would, because I listen to what spirit says and I follow that. And spirit is beautiful. And when spirit comes through, it comes through with love, healing, calmness. It comes through with inner peace. Completely different from all the other things. So there you go. That was my deep dive, and that is my truth. And I would honestly say this. I would not worry one iota, because in the process of moving home, the only way I can describe it when I'm in that room is it's the most natural, beautiful flow home that is celebrated by you, by your consciousness, and by your family and spirit. And that's where I'm going to leave it. I'm wishing you all a lovely evening. I am extremely sorry if I've hurt anybody. I'm sorry if you've been angry and you've been saying awful things. It's okay. You do what you feel is right. I am not telling you to do anything. I am just sharing my experience. And if you were to ask me what I would do, I can't wait to move in to my light. I can't wait to hold my family's hands. Have a great night, guys. I'm sorry I didn't answer all your questions, but hopefully I've given you what you need. Maybe I should stay another 15 minutes. Yeah, I'm going to stay another 15 minutes. And from this moment on, if you've got any questions that you are in doubt, if I don't know, I'll say I don't know that. It's a great question. I don't know. If I know, I'll share it with you now. So you want to ask me a question, ask me now, and I'll try to answer those questions. Alan, yeah, you saw the aura. Yeah, it resembled a steaming kettle. Exactly. That's exactly it. In fact, that's a bloody good analogy. I say a cloud, but you're right. It is like a steaming kettle. Well done, Alan. Bang on. Well done that you saw it. It's very hard for people to see it. It's really challenging because of life, because of what the darkness puts into our eyes, what it tells us to look at, what it tells us to feel and think. We become blind to what we should see because energy is around all of us and you can read people's energy in so many ways. Okay. Wow. No questions, unless you're all writing them. But thus far, no questions. It says, are poltergeists mostly children? Not at all. Not at all. And poltergeist, what do you mean by poltergeist? You mean spirit trapped in between two worlds? Spirit trapped in between two worlds. Are you talking about entities from different entities, like evil entities? Like for me, I never went down that path. I never asked about it. I never looked at it because I realized that my clients who were coming to me looking into this were being affected and it was affecting them bad. So I chose not to look at it and to be stronger than it and to clear it and not even talk about it anymore. And it's not important. And that is how I healed my clients. Those that used to do this work and used to talk to their clients and tell them about it always came back again. Why is that? Because you're fueling it, you're allowing it, you're opening yourself up to those things. So I'm not the person to talk about that, So I see it more as spirit trapped in between two worlds and entities that cause my clients to go crazy and these things. I just put my hand on their heart and I said, darkness cannot stay where light is. I used to say it in a loving way, but strong, powerful, and I changed into something else. And people used to say, "You're not the same person. Look at you." And I go, "Yeah, I feel like I know what I'm doing, even though I didn't know what I was doing. I was there, and I was like a bloody knight. I was like you are not gonna be in here." And my hand would burn, and the person would be screaming, and then, boom, it's gone. They went into peace, never again came back again. So there's nothing big, nothing clever about it. I didn't do anything special. I didn't say any spooky words or ask the demon who they are so I know who they are to get rid of them. I didn't need to do any of that. And there were one lady who went all over. She went to London. She went to where else? Switzerland to this famous healer. Nothing. Nobody got rid of it. She went to churches. She came to me. I gave a healing session for 2 hours. And after that, nothing. Not a thing. Why? Because I didn't care. I didn't care. The only time I used to say something is when I knew my client was winding me up. And a lot of the times people think they've got something, but it's within themselves. And why they do that is because it's easy to blame and easy to say it wasn't me. So I used to just wind them up and look at them and say, okay, this is easy. Make something move in the room. And they go, what? I'd say, well, if you've got something inside him, it's really simple. I know that the power of these demons can move anything like that. Please, I speak to the demon, not you. Move something in the room. And then they freak out because they know that there was nothing in them. They're like self-realization hits them and they realize that they can't wind me up. You see what I'm saying? And it's not their fault. They've just been brainwashed by somebody telling them this. So, yeah, okay. There's short question. Do you think that spirits who were in a lot of pain before the transition need more time before they can visit us? It's a good question, really. When they're in pain, all I can tell you is this. This was one of my favorite stories that happened more than once. So I'd be sat there and I'd be saying to my client, your husband's here. And he's telling me all these. And then when I'd finished, they'd say, yeah, that was right. That's exactly like my husband. But the problem is my husband's alive. And I'm like, shit, I don't understand. And then they'd go and then they'd call me a few days later or pretty quick, shit, my husband died in an armchair while I was there. So the spirit world came to me at the same time as he was passing into the light in an armchair or in the bed or wherever he was. And I'm now talking to that spirit. So how many people do you think got so peed off with me because they wrote in a book that when you die, you have to stay you cannot leave that body for 3 days? I just dispelled that within my client saying that to me. They were here and they were talking to me. They were no longer in the space. They were in the spirit world and they came forward to me. And I used to get people who hated me 12 years ago, 13 years ago, who used to say, they got so angry. Why? Because I just told the truth. And then they say, you're lying. And then, funnily enough, that lady was on Facebook and I'm no longer on Facebook anymore. They took me off. And she answered one woman who was a psychic in Portugal who said, you're full of shit. And this woman said, are you saying that to Mark? This was me. This happened to me. And this happened all the time. Every time a psychic or a medium would say something to attack me, the person was on Facebook as a friend of mine and would defend me. And then they'd go and block them, block everybody. Why? Why are you so hardened to say that this isn't real? I don't know whether things change, whether they're real, but this is an experience and I'm just sharing it with you. And yet I was attacked all the time. So your question, I don't know if I answered your question, but like I said, do you think that spirits who are in a lot of pain, you see, I don't understand that, because at the moment of this, you either realize that, oh my God, I understand it now. And it's a moment of self-realization, and it comes with like, okay, I accept it, right? I accept it and I walk into the light, and everything's fine when you're in the light. It's gone because there is no suffering, because when you're in the light, you're back home, and all the things that you wanted to learn and went through as all now you understand it all. So all the bad things, all this are not bad, they're experiences. You can't see things as bad things in the spirit world because it's only love. It's only a frequency of high vibration, not sad. And this is another thing that pissed a lot of people off as psychics and healers and all that, right? People used to say, when you go to the spirit world, you're still as stupid. When you go to the spirit world, you're still as angry, right? Why is that? Because they come forward and share something with you about somebody. Yeah. And I had this conversation with Colin Fry. And we used to Skype each other. He used to Skype me all the time. We used to talk to each other. We were going to do stuff together, but I couldn't do it with him because I couldn't do that stand-up stuff. I couldn't be on a podium and do that. It's just not for me. But we used to talk to each other. And I liked the guy, liked his boyfriend, Mick. They were nice people. People didn't like them. A lot of people did. But we used to talk. And I said, just a quick one. Let me just ask you this question, because I've just been finished a lot of clients, right? I said, could it be, Colin, could it be that when I'm picking somebody up, or when you're tuning into somebody and you're saying, oh, you've had your teeth, the person that I'm picking up has a gold tooth and he's not happy with so-and-so, right? What's the recipient going to say? That's my dad. Why is it your dad? Because that's the way he behaved. So could it be, right? Okay, Colin, right? Now, Imagine he didn't come forward and say that he was angry and he didn't have a gold tooth. How are you going to say who that is? How are you going to say it? You can only say it by the characteristics of what you were in this world. So could it be that you're mistaken, because the only way they can share who they are to you is by what they were in this lifetime? Only asking. And I got abuse for that. Why am I getting abuse from everybody just from asking questions or sharing my story? Why? Because of dogma, because of my belief, because I was told this from the Arthur Findlay College, or I was a healer and you can't heal somebody for 2 years unless you watch somebody, your teacher. Why is it that we're so tight, and why aren't we open to things, and why can't we see it anyway? So do you think that spirits who are in a lot of pain before they transition need more time? I think what I was trying to say, I went off. But at the moment of your passing into the light, there is no more pain. The only pain in the transition is at the moment of transitioning. And it happens in a split second of all these pictures flying in front of you. And then you judge yourself. And then but not judge like, okay, I'm going to, you just see everything and you go, okay, wow, I didn't do that very well. I didn't do that. It's not judging. It's just witnessing what you're saying. You see, sometimes when I say something, I'm misinterpreted all the time, right? I'm misinterpreted all the time. What I mean is that all my life is shown in front of me, but whether my brain or whether the pain is too much, and if nobody maybe is there to help me in the sense that I'm still in my brain and I'm not opened up, like when I'm giving a healing session, at that point, I open people up in the third eye. I don't know how or why or what this amazing thing is, but you give healing there when somebody's passing away and they open up and everything just flows. It's so beautiful. So, but people are in the spirit world and they go every second of the day. Now, let's say that you believe that the light is a trap. Okay. And all of these people that believe that the light is a trap, will you just keep coming back here all the time? Question is, what's the point? Coming back here all the time and we're trapped. What's the point of being trapped and coming back all the time? What's the point? Why would Gaia, why would Mother Earth, why would Spirit, why would God, why would angels, why would they just keep doing that? And if it is so dark and so bad, I just confused every time I try and understand, because actually what I'm trying to do all the time is look at myself and listen to what I'm saying and stand out of myself and say the light is the dark and it's a trap. I'm trying to see it. I'm not trying to defend it. That's why I'm stopping. Isn't there? And every time I try to see it, I stop in confusion. I stop in, like, I'm stuck. Why am I stuck? Because something's not flowing. Something's not right. If something's right, it just flows from your heart and it just comes out. You watch anybody who talks about, and I'm not pointing fingers, but you watch an interview. So if we don't go into the light, where do we go? Well, I'm not going into the light. What does that mean? What does that mean? Certainly not going into the light. What does that mean? So you're 100% certain not to go into the light, but you don't know what else to do? Well, that seems a bit silly, doesn't it? So it doesn't make any sense and it doesn't feel right. It doesn't come with love. It comes with fear. Anything that comes with fear, to me, is a trap. Because The darkness is going to fool you into fear. The very person who talks about everything that the darkness and all these entities do is fool you, is scare you, is frighten you, is tricking you, is the same person who's saying don't go into the light because it's a trick, and giving you fear at the most important moment when you should be filled with love, getting ready to go home. Someone worked that one out. God. Oh. They vibrate out of frequency, and they vibrate into frequency. Sometimes our own eyes miss things and we don't see things for a certain reason that is very, very deep, very, very powerful. And sometimes if it's moldavite, vibrates out of frequency and then comes back into frequency, or even moves. Spirit world, trapped in between two worlds, can move things. Even our spirit world moves things, but they never move things with fear. Anything that is being done by the spirit world, either putting a feather in your home, bringing a bird next to you, always comes with love. Anything that's done by trapped spirit comes with fear. If a tap's on, you feel fear. When you go into that house, you can feel it's fearful. If something's moved, that doesn't feel right. It's that simple. It's just discerning what's right from wrong. Right. So this is a beautiful thing, Claire. When I was giving healing at the first year, my mentor showed me how to heal for a matter of seconds. And she wasn't very good. In fact, Susie, who I was married to, laughed. But I didn't laugh because I thought there's something in this healing, right? She showed me her way. But that afternoon, a teacher said to me, while I was giving her a reading about a son in the village, said, "You've just healed me." And I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "You've just healed me, Mark." And I said, "But I'm not a healer." And she says, "What could be more beautiful than healing somebody and not even knowing you healed them? Isn't that special?" Like, that blew me away, really. So I went back, and she says, "Oh, I'll show you how to heal." I said, "Oh, great." And she showed me. I didn't really, she was doing this and I didn't really get it. Anyway, I started trying to understand healing. After about 6 and 7 weeks, I started practicing. And there was one point, right, after about a few months, there was one point that this particular point, my wife had a bad stomach ache. Okay, it might have been a bad period. She didn't normally have bad periods, but she might have had a bad stomach ache. So I said, "Oh, I'll give you a bit of healing." So it was during the day. I shut the curtains. I put a brown cover over her, and I started giving her healing with my hand like this. And I closed my eyes and I held my hand out, just not knowing why. I just held my hand out to say, "Please, let me have some energy. Give me some healing," right? Naturally, I didn't even know what I was doing. And then I opened my eyes, and the light was there. Could see the light because it was so bright outside. But I know her eyes were hurting and she wanted a bit of darkness. And I remember shouting, screaming, going, "Oh my God." And she said, What's wrong?" I said, "No." And I started moving my hand back and forth. And there was, all I can describe it in my way, you would describe it in your way, smoke. I saw it as white powder, little speckles of baby powder coming off my hands. I finished the healing session and I ran down the stairs and I went into the house of my mentor and said, "I swear to God, what's just happened?" And I told her about this white. She had loads of books. And she went to one book, and it was an Indian book, and she was part Indian. And she opened it up, and she flicked through the pages for about 10 or 15 minutes. And eventually, she read this paragraph out. And it was an old ancient book about healing. And she was a PhD. She was brilliant. She had brain, like, incredible. She read so much. Anyway, it basically said, and she said to me, The ancient healers in India used to talk about a white powder coming off hands, and it was the healing energy. I was so happy. I was so excited. I'm a healer. I did it. Something happened. I made it happen. I was so excited. So the energy, which you might call smoke, that comes off your fingers, could be healing energy. So that I probably haven't answered that correct. Well, the rejection that I don't. There's no such thing as rejection in the spirit world. There's no such thing as hate in the spirit world. There's no such. Imagine, right? Just imagine this: you step into an ocean, and that ocean, when you walk into it, you can breathe, and for the first time, you don't feel any pain. You don't feel any fear. You don't feel any negativity. And all of a sudden, you see your mum, you see your dad, you see your worst enemy, you see everybody there. But now you realize that they're all you. They're all part of you. They're all part of an amazing, unique experience that you created before you came here. My first mentor did the most awful things to me and my family. And I'll never really speak about it. But when she moved into the light, I knew she moved into the light. Somebody sent me a message and said she's passed. I says, yeah, I know. I felt her last night. She came to me and I was crying. She says, why are you crying? I says, because she's my best friend. And this woman thought I was crazy. And I sat down for 1 week and everything changed. Everything, I realized that on this earth plane, we feel pain and we feel hatred and we feel anger and bitterness. But when we move into the light, everything makes sense because there is no pain or suffering. We just created that here for the experience of a single drop in the ocean of your family. And there's only love there. There's only love. That's why I can't wait to go home. But I cannot go yet because I've got work to do, and so do you. I chose my family. I chose my mum. I chose my dad. And I loved my mum and I struggled with my dad. But when I say I chose them out of love. So I don't look at my dad as anger. I look at him as love because I chose him. So the love for my mum is equal to the love for my dad when I think about the spirit world, because I'm thankful for that journey and I'm thankful for my dad agreeing to do that. But that's not my dad in the spirit world. It's just a part of me. No need to apologize. Thank you. I don't know if I'm speaking truth, by the way. I'm just speaking what my experience is. And I can't say it's the truth, but I would really urge you to meditate on this idea of the light being a trap. My understanding is that when I sit with somebody and I look at them, I used to see levels of energy in them. And it normally used to be above them. And it used to be 12 elements of energy color. And it's not the color of what you think. It's a different color. When I used to close my eyes, you see different colors. And I can't explain what colors are because they're not the color of this world. But the only way I could see what they're doing and where they are on a singular drop of water in this world was the levels. Am I coming back? The ones who say I'm not coming back ever again would be the ones who would be definitely coming back. Because I could see the levels. So my mum was on 12th level. It's the only way you can describe it. Vibrated at 12th level. Acceptance, even with being abused by her husband. Cancer, because she created it in herself because of the abuse of her husband. Children were beautiful. Some of them were challenging. People did nasty things to her. People were kind to her. But she accepted all of those things. She wasn't bitter. She wasn't angry. She loved everybody. She was on a level which is different from all of us. So if you ask me, how do I not come back to this world? It's not about not going into the light. It's about achieving ultimate understanding and forgiveness and meaning it. Most people don't understand it. Oh, I forgive you. No, you don't. You're only saying that. Yes, I need to learn to forgive. Yes, we do. And we'll only understand that when we actually learn to forgive. And how do we do that? By understanding truth, which has been suppressed, real spirituality, real life, and real experience, that all of this is just an experience. It's all just an illusion. And it's how you experience the illusion and how you don't get affected and become stronger and learn to forgive and understand life and death and understand all of these things. And wow, your energy is amazing. And like, I can see that this person ain't coming back again. Why? Because this person's gone through all the pain and suffering and experienced it and understood it, and not just forgiven it, but really embraced it all. Probably haven't answered your question neither. Okay, is that enough? Are we done, guys? I need to go home now because my partner's made some fresh soup, which is all leaves. Last question, guys, because I'm going to have to go. Yeah. So you're talking about orbs. Is that orbs? Energy lights, orbs. Orbs are really interesting. A lot of the times, orbs can be smoke. They can be the lens being a little bit mucky or but then you could take a photo on a night next to a tree and you can see all these orbs, or you can be involved with a circle night. And in that circle night, there can be a little child there who is a shaman. Might be a small little boy, but he's a powerful shaman. And you could take a photo of him and see an orb right next to him. So what does that mean? Sometimes it could mean that there are spirit in the room. And I have seen 3 orbs working on a child that literally didn't want to be in this world. First time I saw them, they appeared in front of me. And I write about it in my book. And the beautiful lady whose daughter it was had her eyes closed and she was pointing at the orbs. And when she woke up, when everybody woke up, because I realized this is for me, it's not for anybody else, because I was like looking at this woman saying, can you see what I'm seeing? And her eyes were closed and she was literally pointing at it. And she said, I don't know why, Matt, but my hand had lifted up. And I don't know, my hand just lifted up. And I said, I just smiled, never really said anything, but wrote about it. So orbs is just a frequency and energy that I believe is the spirit world. And the same frequency and energy can obviously be trapped spirit. And there is also the other realms of different frequencies and energies that people can call, I don't know, whatever. I don't really go down that path too much, but there's different worlds within worlds, different frequencies. So it could mean anything. But a lot of the times it's that the camera lens is mucky, or that it's smoke. And sometimes it can look like there's orbs in there, but sometimes it is real and true. And it could be spirit guides, spirit world, or whatever you want to call it. That's my kind of belief, but I'm not massively into it. So Mark, huge question. Can spirits trapped in between, in 2 worlds, alter your thoughts 100% and play as people you care about to trouble you? Absolutely. And I'll tell you why. This is the best one. I married somebody called Jackie, who we had a child together called Nico. I'm actually interviewing him on Friday, so you can see him if you want to come to the interview live on here. We moved into a property together. We were like this, by the way. We were hairdressers and we worked together. We had a place called The Edge in Home Firth, and we worked together. We were. I mean, to say that I love this woman is an understatement. I loved her with all my heart. I wasn't the best person, but I loved her. I wasn't perfect, but I loved her. So we worked hard. We lived in a 1-bedroom, little tiny place, and we got The Edge. We opened it up and we started becoming very successful as hairdressers. As we grew, we bought another property. And we bought the property, and I remember going there before we actually moved it fully in. And I opened the back door and I walked down some stairs and I looked at the garden and there's a big burn mark in the grass. And I said to Jackie, there's a burn mark in the what here. Weird. What would you have why would you have a bonfire in the beautiful grass? And as I'm saying this, I heard this, hello, hello. And I'm like, and then there's like a drop. There's like a wall, but it's kind of wall height below. It goes down. There's a little woman looking over. My next door neighbor, my new next door neighbor. And she says, oh, are you the new neighbors? Are you my new neighbors? I says, yeah, we are. Pleased to meet you. My name's Mark and Jackie's in the house and we've got a little baby. No, I didn't say that. I said, my name's Mark. And I think I said, Jackie's in that. And then she says, oh, have you got any children? I went, yeah, just had a baby boy, 2 months old or whatever, 1 month old, something like that. Her words were, oh dear. What? She said, oh dear. I said, what do you mean? She says, I don't want to tell you, love, but everybody who's moved into that house has left. And I said, so? She said, yeah, but never under good circumstances. She said, you see that burn mark, what you were saying? Because she overheard me. She says, that's where the woman found out the man had sex either in the house or somewhere, took all his clothes and burnt them and then split up. She says, I've lived here all my life. And she says, I can't tell you how many couples move in here and split up. So I laughed. Of course I'm going to laugh. I'm like this with my wife. Right? Within the space of 3 months, me and my wife ended up me sleeping downstairs watching movies, her going drinking wine, being upstairs. And we never went to bed together. We just separated. We just like, what's going on? And we split up. For whatever reason, we split up. I'm not saying what, it's not important, but we split up. That house had a spirit in there. And that spirit did not, this is spirit trapped in between two worlds, did not like anybody in that house who were family and who were a bond. And that spirit trapped in between two worlds spent all its time separating whoever was in that house. Now listen, me and Susie separated, not because of spirit, because it was our time. So I'm not doing this to try and say I'm that I'm just going to, I could have been a bad person or I'm just using it. No, I'm just telling you the truth. If I was a bad person and nasty to her and beat her, and I'd tell you I was an horrible person, I did bad things. No, I wasn't. But this happened. And I laughed at that woman and I never even gave it a thought when she said that. Not a thought. But when I look back, and the penny drop moment came after my suffering, after 7 years, and then coming here. And then my teacher saying, did anything happen to you in any house? And she did this all the time. She just bloody knew. Did anything happen to you when you were a little boy? Like you can't explain. Yeah. Did anything happen to you when you were with a partner or in a house and anything freaked out and something happened that like you look back and think, that couldn't have happened, or it happened for a reason that you can't explain. Yeah, split up from it just happened when I was in this house. And then the penny drop moment. Oh my God, that woman said that. So yes, playing their curse, you are negative. I don't know what that means, but anyway, I hope I answered the question. That's why I like to go into houses and cleanse them, because I know they can influence us sometimes in a negative way, depending on what they've been through in their life. And then they passed away and neglected the light, moved away from the light and went into the darkness, which I believe is spirit trapped in between two worlds. That's it, guys. I'm done. Wishing you all a lovely night. I hope you appreciate this. I've done it from my heart, not out of ego. People keep saying, you've got ego. It's like, really? I'm just speaking, guys. I wonder what you think about, other people. Do you want me to talk like this and smile all the time and not say anything? Is that what you want? Well, I'm the wrong person to talk to. I'm the wrong person you should be watching. Go somewhere else and let somebody else feed your happiness and joy, because obviously I'm winding you up and making you think I've got ego. Really, it's not good. And I'm seeing it more and more in people. But there you go. Such is life. I love you all. Okay, guys, take care. Bye for now. I'll leave this up on YouTube for people to see and maybe come to their own conclusions. And hey, if you believe all in your heart that the light is darkness, then you follow what you feel is right, because maybe that's just part of this journey, and maybe we are meant to be trapped in between two worlds at some point. Have a great day. Have a great night. Have a great life. Love you all. Shut up, Mark. Take care, guys. Broadcast end. Thanks, Spirit World, for being with me and helping me.